Are you ready for an epic adventure filled with supernatural creatures, magic, and a lesson on the power of compassion and understanding? Then look no further, because we have the perfect story for you! Join us as we dive into the tale of a peaceful village that must band together to face new threats from some of the most terrifying creatures of Philippine folklore, the Aswang, Manananggal, and Tikulong. But with the help of a wise old man and a newfound understanding of their supernatural friends, the villagers learn that sometimes our greatest enemies can become our closest allies. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be transported to a world of wonder and excitement in this thrilling story of the village and the supernatural creatures. Once upon a time, there was a small village situated at the edge of a dense forest. The villagers were simple and peaceful folk, but they were plagued by a bad spirit that had been haunting the village for many years. The spirit was said to be evil and malevolent, causing misfortunes and disasters wherever it went. No one knew where the spirit came from, but they all knew that it had to be stopped. The villagers tried everything they could think of to rid themselves of the spirit, from praying to their gods to performing exorcisms, but nothing worked. One day, a wise old man arrived in the village. He had traveled from a far-off land and had heard of the village's plight. The villagers were skeptical of the old man, but they were desperate for a solution. The old man listened to the villagers' stories and pondered for a while. Then, he said that he had a plan to get rid of the spirit, but it would require everyone's cooperation. The old man explained that the bad spirit thrived on negativity and fear. So, he proposed that the villagers should stop giving the spirit the attention it craved. Instead, they should focus on positive things and spread joy and happiness throughout the village. At first, the villagers were hesitant. They had lived with the bad spirit for so long that they didn't know any other way. But the old man was convincing, and slowly, the villagers began to change their ways. They started organizing festivals and celebrations, and they focused on helping each other whenever they could. Gradually, the village began to transform. The crops grew better, the animals were healthier, and the people were happier than they had been in a long time. As the village prospered, the bad spirit began to weaken. With no negativity or fear to feed on, it became weaker and weaker until one day, it disappeared altogether. The villagers rejoiced, and they knew that they owed their freedom from the bad spirit to the wise old man. They thanked him for his guidance and promised to continue living in a positive and joyful way, knowing that it was the key to keeping the bad spirit at bay. And so, the village lived happily ever after, free from the grip of the bad spirit that had haunted them for so long. As the villagers enjoyed their newfound freedom from the bad spirit, they thought that they were finally safe from all supernatural threats. But little did they know, another evil entity was lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. The Aswang, a creature known for its insatiable appetite for human flesh, had been attracted to the village by the negative energy that the bad spirit had left behind. It had been biding its time, waiting for the right moment to attack. At first, the Aswang was content to watch from afar, observing the villagers and waiting for its chance to strike. But as the villagers continued to live in harmony and positivity, the Aswang grew restless. One night, while the villagers were sleeping, the Aswang crept into the village and began to attack. It swooped down from the trees and snatched up unsuspecting villagers, devouring them before anyone could react. The villagers were terrified, and they didn't know how to defend themselves against the Aswang. They tried all the usual methods of protection, like garlic and silver, but nothing seemed to work. Desperate for a solution, the villagers turned to the wise old man once again. The old man listened to their stories and immediately knew what to do. He told the villagers that the Aswang could only be defeated by the power of love and compassion. If they wanted to drive the Aswang away, they had to unite as a community and show the creature that they were not afraid. So, the villagers came together and organized a massive feast, inviting everyone in the village, including the Aswang. They cooked up all their best dishes and laid out a grand banquet, with music and dancing to entertain the guests. At first, the Aswang was suspicious. It had never been invited to a feast before, and it was wary of the villagers' intentions. But as it watched the festivities unfold, it began to feel a strange sense of warmth and belonging. Slowly, the Aswang began to mingle with the villagers, talking and laughing with them as if it were one of them. And as it did, the Aswang began to change. Its once fearsome features softened, and its appetite for human flesh diminished. As the night wore on, the Aswang bid the villagers farewell and promised never to harm them again. The villagers cheered and celebrated, grateful for their victory over the Aswang. And so, the village lived in peace and harmony once again, knowing that their love and compassion had saved them from the evil Aswang. They continue to follow the wise old man's teachings, living each day with positivity and love, knowing that it was the key to keeping their village safe from all the evils of the world. As the villagers continued to live in peace and harmony, they thought that they were safe from all the supernatural threats that had plagued them in the past. However, their sense of security was short-lived as two new threats emerged in the village, the Manananggal and the Tipulong. The Manananggal was a terrifying creature that was known for its ability to detach its upper body from its lower half and fly through the air to hunt for its prey. Meanwhile, the Tipulong was a creature with the body of a horse and the head of a man, known for its mischievous and sometimes malevolent behavior. At first, the villagers tried to ignore the creatures, hoping that they would go away. But as the Manananggal and the Tipulong continued to terrorize the villagers knew that they had to take action. The wise old man suggested that they should try a different approach this time. Instead of fighting the creatures, they should try to understand them and find out what was causing them to behave in such a way. The villagers were skeptical but decided to give it a try. They reached out to the Manananggal and the Tipulong, inviting them to talk and share their stories. At first, the creatures were hesitant, but eventually, they agreed to meet with the villagers. As they talked, the villagers learned that the Manananggal and the Tipulong were not evil by nature. They were simply creatures who had been misunderstood and mistreated by humans. They had been forced to live in the shadows, never being allowed to be a part of the village community. Feeling compassion for the creatures, the villagers invited them to join in their celebrations and festivals, and even helped them build homes within the village. The Manananggal and the Tipulong were surprised by the villagers' kindness and slowly began to open up to them. As they spent more time together, the villagers discovered that the Manananggal and the Tipulong had unique abilities that could benefit the community. The Manananggal was an expert at finding medicinal plants in the forest, and the Tipulong was a skilled craftsman who could build anything out of wood. With their newfound friends' help, the villagers thrived, and the village became a prosperous community where everyone worked together for the common good. However, their newfound peace was short-lived, as a new threat emerged. This time, it was a powerful sorceress who was jealous of the villagers' happiness and prosperity. She had heard of the Manananggal and the Tipulong's newfound friendship with the villagers and saw it as an opportunity to cause chaos and destruction. The sorceress cast a spell that caused the Manananggal and the Tipulong to turn on the villagers, unleashing their powers on them. The villagers were caught off guard and had no idea how to defend themselves against their friends turned foes. But the wise old man once again came to their rescue, using his own magical powers to break the sorceress's spell. With her spell broken, the Manananggal and the Tipulong returned to their peaceful selves, and the villagers and their supernatural friends continued to live in harmony. From that day on, the villagers learned to accept and embrace the supernatural creatures that lived among them. They understood that by showing love, compassion, and understanding, they could overcome any obstacle and create a community that was stronger together than apart. The story of the village and the supernatural creatures teaches us an important lesson about the power of compassion, understanding, and acceptance. When we take the time to understand those who are different from us, we can learn from their unique perspectives and talents and build stronger, more inclusive communities. As a wise old man showed, even our greatest enemies can become our closest allies if we approach them with an open mind and a kind heart. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. And most importantly, let us all strive to embrace and celebrate the diversity that makes our world so beautiful. Thank you for listening!